Hey guys, welcome back to Jesse Invests. Today, I'm going to dive into my net worth tracker. We're going to see how I managed to hit $10,000 in net worth, my year-end goal, 2 months early, and how we went from worth nearly nothing to worth 10 grand in less than 12 months. I'm going to break down exactly how we got there and how you guys can do it as well. And before we jump in, I did want to say though, I'm so appreciative of Jasmine. Thank you so much for subscribing to the Patreon. She is our newest member, and I'm really excited that you jumped in. I hope that you get a lot of value for your pledge. If you guys wish to support, I do have a flash sale going on in the description down below. You get access to over 5 spreadsheets, get access to a investor and budgeting community. Hit the link down below in the description to get on the Discord. Okay, so here we have my net worth. I started off in 2025 with a net worth of $1,400, peaked at about $7,000 and then plateaued for the next several months. And we jumped from September at 7.3K to 10.8K in October. And I actually didn't make a video in October about this, so we're going to cover this today, how I got to 10,000, and we're going to get to see what made me drop a little bit, why did I lose $1,000 in net worth from October to November, and how do we make sure that we keep this $10,000 coming in on January 1st for the month of December. Okay, so we can see here in October I had a net worth of $10,892. That was made up of $26,000 in assets and $16,000 in debts. So we can see the assets went up by almost 2 grand. And then my liabilities, my debts, dropped by $1,000. So I went from almost 18K in debt down to 16K in debt. So we went from 7,000 to 10,000 because my assets went up by $2,000, but my debts also dropped by 1,000. What did that look like play by play? We can see that I have about $4,000 in cash. Same thing in my checking account, $77 in my checking account, $3,400 in my reserve. My high yield savings went up from September to October, up to $875, closer to that $1,000 goal. My investments went up a lot. That's a huge factor. The stock market went up. So instead of having 14K invested, it went up to 16K. That alone can account for the extra $2,000 in assets in the month of October. Investing is a huge thing that's causing my net worth to go up, for sure. And you can see here individually which portfolio rose the most for month over month. And then in properties and cars, my vehicle dropped in value only by a little bit here, about $60 month over month. And then that's so about $4,500 in net worth is in my car. And then under assets, other assets like gold and silver, we see my gold went up from $1,400 to $1,500. So gold rose. That helped a lot with my net worth going up in October. So all those combinations together brought my net worth up from 25K to nearly 27K, a $2,000 jump. Mainly accredited to the investments rising that I invested, which includes my 401k. I have a Roth IRA. I have a taxable brokerage account that I make videos about on this channel. I also have some invested in Bitcoin, which rose a little bit, and then my wife also has a 401k. Now going down to liabilities, my debts. In September, I had almost 18K in debt, and then October, I have 16K. So I dropped almost $2,000 in debt. That is another huge factor that played into my net worth hitting the $10,000 2025 goal. So a big part of this was short-term debts. I lost $1,500 in credit card debt. I paid off a bunch of cards, $700 in debt, went down to $100 there, $2,700 went down to $1,700. So my credit card debt fell a lot. As far as long-term debt goes, I did pay about $200 off of my car loan, which I do owe $12,000 on my car, which is worth about $4,500 right now. So obviously I'm underwater by like $8,000. The car's not worth that much because it has had some mechanical issues in the past due to some accidents it's been in. But that's one of my biggest goals, is to pay off the car as fast as I can. Medical debt, I still have $380 in medical debt. I didn't have any for most of the year. Then I got a nice big bill in July, and been trying to peck at it here. So it's down to $380, but it's still there. So long-term debts didn't change much. The main thing that caused my debt to drop so much was almost $2,000 in credit cards I paid off. So those combinations together, like I said, brought it from 7K in net worth to 10.8K. And then, since this is a double video here during October and November, we can see it dropped back down in November. So what caused it to go from that great $10,000, almost $1,000 in excess of my 10K goal, and dropped to 9K, slightly underneath the mark? Well, 26K to 28K in assets. Well, my debt also rose with it, and that rose almost $3,000, 16 to almost 19K in debt. So what happened with my debt? You can see here that my amount in my bank account stayed pretty similar from October to November. My investments went up about $1,000, and you can mainly contribute that, it looks like, to 401ks and a little bit here with the M1 taxable. My car dropped in value about $100. Here under other assets, this is a big part that played into my assets rising. So for gold and silver, I went up from $1,600 in gold and silver to $2,200. My gold rose in value by $100, but I also made a $540 purchase of silver. Now, I've never bought any silver, so that was really cool to see, to just make happen. And I did buy at a high, so we'll see if this actually grows at all over time, but I'm just happy to get my hands on a little bit of silver here. And then liabilities went up $2,000, and that is because my credit card short-term debts rose a bunch. That about $1,000 I put on the cash rewards card, and then $3,000 of debt I put on the Sapphire. Now here's the thing. You'll probably be thinking, well, you just paid those off, Jesse. Why are you already bringing them back up? So I did pay them off, but the way that I do things is I don't really use a debit card anymore. I swipe a credit card for every purchase that I make. Every single thing I buy, from gas to groceries to my light bill, it all comes on a credit card. My rent, I even pay on a credit card. If you're asking me, well, why do you do that? Why don't you just use your debit card for everything? It's so complicated because I get rewards. Let's say I spend $100 at the grocery store on my grocery card. Well, I get $5 back that I can take out as cash. It's like a $5 gift card for every time I go to the grocery store. And when I go to the grocery store, I spend hundreds of dollars. So I'm getting a $10, $15 gift card every time I go to the grocery store, swiping my card. It's awesome. So when you see that I added $3,000 in debt to this Sapphire card, it's going to be paid off next month. I pay all my credit cards off on time. I've never actually had an interest payment on a credit card. But in the moment, it does look like it's a lot of spending. So it is going to play an impact on my net worth. Next, we can look at the car, and we can talk about the refinancing I did. So you can see here that 12.5 got paid down to 12.2, and then 12, and then you would think that now I'd owe only $11,000 in November on my car, but I actually owe $12,192. It went up, and that's because I refinanced, and when I refinanced, I refinanced it for a little bit higher than I needed, just to make sure I had enough money to pay for it, to pay for the new loan. So I have $12,192 left on my car, and I am really excited I got it refinanced because my interest rate dropped from 10% interest rate, 10% APR, down to 6%, which means over the life of the loan, I'm just going to save so much money paying interest. It takes a total of a whole year off the loan. Instead of paying off the car by 2029, it'll now be 2028. Or earlier, if I make extra payments. But now, at the bare minimum, it's 2028 instead of 2029. So I have 2 to 3 years left of paying on the car instead of 3 to 4 years. So really excited about that, getting that done and paid for. And I'm at the 9,000. So a big thing that can be attributed to dropping underneath the 10K goal for November was just the spending high on the credit cards. And that's just lifestyle spending, like I said, because I put everything on the card, but also in there is, I'm sure there's unnecessary spending too. So just monitoring that coming into the next month, trying to be careful and mindful there is going to be important. And one of my favorite parts of this is looking at the assets versus liabilities graph. We can see here that my liabilities, the red, has been shrinking while my assets have been staying the same or going up. October was a really good month because my assets shot up while my liabilities shot down. And then November, you can see my debt went back up, kind of negating August to October's stance with debt, shooting back up, which isn't good to see. My assets also rose to help close that gap, or widen that gap. So that's where I'm at right now, guys. That is where I'm at with my net worth. Let's take a look at the net worth graph. It's net worth graph here. You can see it's still going up. It's still an upward chart. We can see it passed the $10,000 line right here and then dipped a little beneath. So that's my net worth since 2024. So almost 2 years growth of net worth, going from negative $12,000 in net worth up to $10,000. And we can see this new graph I've added since the last video, guys. Liquid cash to credit line ratio. This is honestly what net worth should be looking at. This liquid cash is if I were to pay off all my credit card debts and just pay off like all my short-term debt right away, how much cash I'd have. This is how much cash I have versus how much I'm borrowing. So we can see like right here in November, yeah, this is where we're at. It's negative 1,861. This means that I currently owe $1,861 more on my credit cards than I have in cash. So this is not good. We don't want this underneath this middle black line. This indicates I did overspend in November on my credit card, and it looks like an all-time overspending because I was down $1,600 in February, but in November I'm down $1,800. Now I'm not actually gonna be paying interest or anything like that because my credit cards are all spaced apart, so they're timed with my paychecks that I'm gonna get a paycheck, pay off a card, get a paycheck, pay off a card. So I am still ahead of it, even though it looks like I don't have enough money to pay it off, because if I had to pay off all my credit card debts right now in this moment, I wouldn't have enough. I'd be short $1,800. But with the way the cycles land, the pay statements land, the due dates land, I'm gonna still be on top of it. But it's cutting it way closer than necessary. So keeping an eye on this cash to credit line ratio line is gonna be important. I wanna be way up here like I was most of the spring. I do not want to be down here fighting to stay afloat with credit card spending. So that is where I'm at in my net worth, guys, in my journey. I definitely am aiming to enter January 2026 and over $10,000 in net worth. Another goal that I have is to enter January with a positive liquid cash ratio, cash to credit line ratio. I want to make sure that I have all my credit cards paid off entering January 2026. Really close to doing that. Just want to make sure I stay focused. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching the video. This chart right here, you can actually find for free. I'm sorry, not for free, but you can find a template in my description down below. It is free in the Discord. There are only 2 available free invites for the Discord left in my description though. So if you go there and they are closed by the time you get there, you can join the Patreon as a supporter to get access to the Discord immediately, which is where you'll find this spreadsheet as well as so many other spreadsheets. This specific version is not yet fully updated, so it doesn't have the liquid cash yet on the public copy, but it does have this top part up here, this net worth line, and then you can also get everything right here to plug in your own information about your financial situation to see where your net worth stands on a column chart and where your graph stands, and just getting a better picture of your net worth and where it's at right now in your life. Get access to this, plug your stuff in, link in the description. Appreciate you guys, and until next video.